By the mid-2020s, the industry's stance on Blender has notably shifted. While the largest legacy VFX studios, like ILM, Weta, and DNAG, in addition to others, still rely on proprietary pipelines and are slow to change, many studios, from small VFX shops, indie game studios, to departments within major companies, they all have started to integrate Blender for specific purposes. And today, we're going to talk about several examples of studios and projects that now use Blender in their production, which shows how the landscape has changed. In 2019, Ubisoft announced it would adopt Blender as its primary 3D animation software, replacing its in-house proprietary tools. I think this was a bold move by a major game publisher's film and TV division, especially given the corporate awareness about the GPL past. Ubisoft's approach to overcome those concerns was to fully embrace open source culture, so they joined the Blender Development Fund as a gold member and formed a dedicated Blender team to develop pipeline add-ons which they openly share with the community. Pierre Jacquet explained that using open source allows us to continue by sharing some of the tools our Blender team will be developing. We love the idea that mutual exchange will benefit everyone in the end. In production, Ubisoft uses Blender for modeling, animation, and lighting for its animated shows, initially on short incubator projects and then on full series. They integrate Blender with their broader pipeline through standard formats, for example using Alembic or USD to hand off assets to other departments, such as game engines or compositing tools. And here is the secret. Internal pipeline code communicates with Blender via its Python API. Because this code isn't distributed outside of Ubisoft, they can keep it proprietary without violating the GPL license, and the result is a high-end pipeline that takes advantage of Blender's rapid evolution. In Ubisoft's words, Blender offers us more flexibility and frees resources to focus on new ways and tools to create. Our goals with the Blender Foundation are aligned, so today Ubisoft has Blender firmly integrated into producing AAA animated series, proving that a large studio can thrive with Blender at its core. Another example I want to mention is in feature animation. Tangent Animation provided a high-profile proof of concept that a feature film could be created almost entirely in Blender. For example, Next Gen, which was released on Netflix in 2018, Tangent adopted a 100% Blender-centric pipeline, alongside Houdini for some effects and Nuke for compositing. This was virtually unheard of for a studio working on a 20 million plus animated feature. Initially, Tangent encountered many of the pipeline readiness issues that one might expect, from motion blur inefficiencies to lack of UDIM UV support, but they addressed them by investing in Blender's development. They hired core Blender developers like Stephen Warner and Lucas Bach to implement needed features directly into their custom Blender builds. Because Tangent was comfortable contributing code upstream or at least sharing it with the Blender Institute, much of this work followed back into their official Blender releases, benefiting everyone. And here is the thing. The studio's pipeline strategy raised the bar for Blender, especially in the animation industry. In short, it used Blender as a centric hub for all the departments, including modeling, rigging, animation, lighting, and rendering, which were all done in cycles. And where needed, they wrote add-ons to extend Blender, and those add-ons could be kept internal or open-sourced at their discretion. Tangent's work was inspirational for many studios. Simply put, it demonstrated that investing in Blender, a studio could achieve quality at a lower cost, and the tools would rapidly improve. But sadly, Tangent's journey ended sooner than we expected. The studio shut down in 2021 due to business reasons, but their Blender pipeline accomplishments remain influential. Still with big productions, this time with a television VFX studio called Barnstorm, which is an LA-based boutique studio that was an early adopter of Blender in VFX. Using it in production started around 2014. Initially a team of 5, they switched from Maya and Lightwave and they went to Blender. to capitalize on its generalist-friendly workflow and cycles render engine. At the time, it was very unusual for VFX houses to use Blender as opposed to Maya, according to Barnstorm's founders. But Blender's feature set, especially cycles and bias rendering, and the cost made it really appealing. Barnstorm's breakthrough came when they delivered shots for Amazon's The Man in the High Castle, including an ambitious fully CG atomic explosion sequence. And here is the interesting thing, they were even nominated for a Visual Effects Society award for that work. In terms of integration, Barnstorm uses Blender alongside other industry tools, so Blender acts as a VFX hub for VFX work, and they occasionally use Houdini for particles and Substance for texturing, and compositing is done in Nuke. They hand off data via common formats, for example camera tracking data from Blender to Nuke, and geometry caches via Alembic for Houdini. One challenge they noted was hiring. Finding experienced Blender artists was initially difficult, since big studios weren't training people in Blender, but this has improved as Blender's popularity grew. Barnstorm's success with High Castle and other shows proved to skeptics that Blender can compete with the big boys, especially on real productions. Their pipeline shows how a small studio leveraged Blender in a positive way by avoiding license costs and building custom tools to stay nimble. Now, in live-action film VFX, Makuda is a prominent VFX house in India, which exemplifies a studio that initially avoided Blender, but then embraced it fully. CEO Peter Draper was a long-time 3ds Max user. For years, Max and Maya dominated their pipeline, and around 2019, Makuda began evaluating Blender as it matured after version 2.8, and they did a trial on a smaller project. After seeing some success, they made the jump to migrate the majority of their pipeline to Blender. The first major test was the epic action film RRR in 2022, which had extensive VFX work. Makuda delivered over 700 shots for RRR using Blender as the primary 3D tool. They still employed some Max pipeline elements for specific tasks early on, and they used a Cycles for Max plugin to render some scenes to ease the transition. But as of late 2019, all the new work shifted into Blender, and by the end, Blender was used in their entire pipeline, aside from the effects department, from asset production to the final 3D rendering. Makuda's effects artists continue to use Houdini and Max, especially for heavy simulations like fluids and fireworks, exporting those sims to Blender via OpenVDB or Alembic, while Blender handled the layout, environment modeling, animation, and rendering of everything else. One advantage was Blender's geometry node system, which they leveraged for massive crowd scenes and fully scattering in RRR, which are tasks that benefited from Blender's proceduralism in addition to instancing. To integrate it without licensing conflicts, the studio treated Blender as their core software and pushed data to other tools in standard formats when needed. Makuda's adoption was also enabled by the Cycles render engine's versatility. They even used a Cycles port to Max during the transition, meaning that their lighting artists could maintain continuity while switching to a content creation 3D software. And the overall success of RRR's visuals and Makuda's public story as featured on Blender.org further cemented Blender's credibility for high-end VFX work, and the studio even proved further that a large-scale, spectacle-heavy movie could be done in Blender in their pipeline. When it comes to the highest levels of VFX work, Marvel production is one of the first things that come to mind. Marvel's own studio pipeline is distributed across many VFX vendor companies, and historically those vendors stuck to incumbent tools. However, even in Marvel projects, Blender has made its way in, especially in recent years. One notable example was on Captain America: The Winter Soldier in 2014, where proof-of-concept use of Blender in pre-visualization demonstrated its value. Proof Inc. and pre-visualization firm working on the film typically used Maya for most tasks, but one artist on the team had an idea to simulate a complex building destruction using Blender's physics. According to Proof's previous supervisor, he brought the shots into Blender, normally we work in Maya, and created a simulation of the helicarrier crashing into a building, where you could just drag the helicarrier into the building at different angles in real time, and see how the pieces would crumble. The interactive rigid body simulation done in Blender allowed the team to iterate the sequence much faster than if they tried the rig in Maya. Once the previs was approved, they handed out the scene to the live action crew and ultimately ILM, the primary VFX vendor. In production, Proof's pipeline remained Maya-centric, especially for animation, but Blender was used as a specialist tool for simulation and then output back to the pipeline as cast geometry or rendered QuickTime previews. This early Marvel use case was small but symbolic. It showed large studios that Blender could play nice, especially with Maya, if kept to certain specific tasks. And fast forward to today, Marvel's VFX vendors are increasingly open to using Blender. Many individual artists at big studios now use Blender for certain workflows, even if the studio doesn't officially mandate it. For example, artists at the third floor, which is a major preview studio for Marvel firms, have privately used Blender for modeling or grease pencil storyboarding, then exported everything into Maya for team integration. Likewise, some concept artists, in addition to some generalist or Marvel projects, have used Blender for some concept renders in addition to environment modeling given its speed. One Marvel Studio CG supervisor, Thomas Murphy, publicly talked about introducing Blender into his workflow, especially on Marvel films around 2018, saying it changed my life as an artist and allowed him to deliver shots faster. But generally speaking, while Marvel primary vendors, such as Weta, ILM, DNEG in addition to others, have not announced any wholesale switch to Blender, there is evidence of Blender quietly being integrated for some niche roles, which is, I would say, a step in the right direction. And there you have it, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to this channel to receive more videos like this. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.